saving the goat's milk because I'm going to make Velveeta cheese. I got the idea from Sage and Stone Homestead, but hers kind of, when she took it out of the mold, it kind of just oozed and didn't keep its shape. So I did some research and I found another YouTube lady, which I will link both videos in the description, but I found another YouTube lady who uses the same ingredients, but she had much better success, and her technique is a little bit different, so I'm going to be using her technique. But I did get the idea from Sage and Stone Homestead. I'm only going to make a half a recipe today. The recipe calls for 2 gallons of milk. I'm only going to be using 1 gallon of milk. I don't want to waste a lot of ingredients in case it's something I don't like. Like I said outside, I got this recipe idea from Sage and Stone Homestead, but the actual recipe I decided to use comes from Cozy Cottage Homestead, and I will link both channels in the description, their videos about how to make this. I just like the way that the Cozy Cottage lady, I liked how the end result of her cheese, it held its shape better, and it uses the same ingredients. You still need milk, citric acid, baking soda, salt, and butter, but she added some like Kraft cheese powder packet out of like a box of macaroni and cheese. I'm not going to do that. She said that was for the coloring and a little bit of flavor. If I'm going to do that, I might as well go buy the Velveeta. I'm doing this so that I can get away from some of the chemicals and stuff that go in the food. So right now I'm heating the milk to 140 degrees. I'm also only doing half recipe. So instead of 2 gallons of milk, I'm going to use 1 gallon of milk. That way I just want to try it first and see if I like it, because if I don't like it, then I won't be wasting a whole lot of stuff. So for the half a gallon recipe, or for the 1 gallon recipe, the half recipe, you're going to need 1 gallon of milk. I'm using goat's milk. You're going to need another additional third cup of milk that you save out. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of citric acid. You're going to need 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of salt, a half a stick of butter. And that's the ingredient list. One of the biggest differences in their recipes is the amount of citric acid. Sage and Stone, they used, I think it was 6 teaspoons, which would be 2 tablespoons for 2 gallons of milk, and the Cozy Cottage lady used 4 tablespoons for 2 gallons of milk, so that would be 12 teaspoons. We are at 140, so we want to turn off the burner and remove it from the heat, and now we're going to add the citric acid. Again, for this half recipe, I'm going to be adding 2 tablespoons of citric acid and just stir it slowly. Can already tell that it's getting thick. I hope you can see what it looks like. Look at that. All right, I'm going to cover this, and this is another thing that's different between Heather's recipe and the recipe from the Cozy Cottage. Is the Cozy Cottage lady said you cover it and you let it rest for 30 minutes, and Heather didn't do that in her recipe. So that's the next step I'm going to do. All right, it's been a half an hour. So now it's time to strain this. I have a pan I'm going to catch the whey in. I'm probably going to feed it to the pigs. Then I have some kind of strainer, steamer I think it is. It has some holes in the bottom. I'm going to use that to hold the net. And then this This is what I'm going to use. It is actually a vegetable bag. Has a very fine mesh, so I think this will work good. I'm going to try it anyway, and we'll see. So that went right over the top. See how full it's getting. This mesh bag seems to be working really good. I just picked this up at Walmart. I think it came in like a 5-pack. It seems to be working really good. The next step is to melt the butter and heat the milk, and then when the butter's all melted, I'm going to add the salt, which was 2 teaspoons of salt and 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Now I'm adding the 2 teaspoons of salt and 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. It's foaming up. You can see that the cheese dried out nicely in that bag. So now we're just going to stir it and keep stirring it until it reduces down to half. I did add just a little bit more milk because mine was not as thin as hers was. It's still not quite as thin as what hers was, but I'm kind of afraid to add any more milk. I guess the mesh bag got out a lot more of the whey than what theirs did. But I'm going to stir this. Hopefully it'll keep stirring until all of the little grainy pieces melt and it becomes smooth. Now you're supposed to leave it on the counter until it comes to room temperature, and then you wrap it and you put it in the refrigerator for at least 4 hours or overnight, and then it's ready to slice. This is what it looks like the next day. It would not come out of that loaf pan, so I'm just going to have to serve it or scoop it out of the loaf pan. It's a very soft cheese. It doesn't quite look like how the one lady's did, but I did taste it. It does taste kind of like Velveeta, but not exactly, but it'll be okay. I'll probably try this in some like hamburger helper or macaroni and cheese, something like that. I think it'll do really good.